Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. You can see we've come inside for a change and that's because outside it's pouring with rain. It's a horrendous day and we're not getting much car work done, unfortunately. It looks like it's going to be like that for a few days. So I thought I would go on and talk about something that I've done for quite a lot of years, and it comes up quite often, and that is home automation. So we'll talk about home automation today. So when I refer to home automation, what do I mean? Well, I mean any way of making your house do what you want, controlling it. So you can use remotes, you can use your voice, you can use switches, smart bulbs, smart alarm systems, smoke detectors. There's all sorts. Now this is something that I've been doing for years and years now. I've done it a long time before a lot of the big commercial companies came out with their own tools. So I thought I'd go through a few of those little bits that I've done before, and also I thought I'd show you a couple of the new products that are around that I don't think are quite hitting the mark. I'll explain what I mean. And what I thought I'd do is I'd show you a few of the home automation systems I've tried and used over the years. So a lot of the earlier stuff was called X10. This is an X10 alarm system I had from Marmatech, which it wasn't a bad system, this, to be honest. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, there we go. So it's a standard home alarm system. It uses wireless to talk to the movement sensors and door sensors and things like that, but with the added advantage that it could send and receive X10 codes. Now X10 is an old system that used the mains power line around your house to send and receive commands. So you used to have that unit, and you used to have these, which were appliance modules with little dials. You'd set a house code, A to O on this one, and then a unit number 1 to 16. And basically, if a command was sent on house A, number 3 on this unit would turn on, and any appliance plugged into it would turn on. So it was not a bad system. The big disadvantage to this is that it used the mains power to work. So for starters, if you had separate circuits, things like that, it could be a bit flaky, doesn't always work. The other big problem is that they tended to burn out quite quickly. I mean, especially the alarm. I ended up going through 2 or 3 different power supplies with this. They just didn't seem very reliable, the whole system, and the modules just gave up. So I ran that for a lot of years because early on X10 was one of the earliest systems you could get, and really it was all that was around a while back. So that's what I ran for a long time. That was the X10 system. One thing I did like with X10 is that you could get these modules, which are just self-adhesive. There's nothing on the back. I actually used some sticky strips, some like Velcro, to attach them to the wall. And what it meant is you could turn the appliances on and off using this attached to your wall. So if you had a lamp, for example, plugged in your main room, you could use this to turn it on and off at the switch. Just attach it to the wall, and that was as close to a regular light switch, but being able to still computer control it, because that's the point I was getting to here. This is a computer control system, not just the alarm system and the switches, but you could connect it to a computer and send that house code and unit code using a computer, server, anything at the time to control it. So you could have your lights come on and off at certain times. You could trigger lights to come on when you came home, things like that. And this is all stuff that I did back, well, it's a long time ago. It's probably, in fact, it was when I first got my first house. So that's getting on for 20 years ago now. So it's an old system, X10, and unfortunately it was never that reliable because as well the signal was just simply sent once. So when you press the button on here to switch something on, it was just sent. You've got no way of knowing that that module actually responded and turned on. So as you can imagine, from computer control, that was a problem. You think you've turned a light or an appliance on, you don't know if it's on for sure, so that's a bit of a disadvantage. So that's the X10 system. It was a good early start. Actually, these are also X10 units, just slightly different versions, just in case you've seen them elsewhere. So that's what these were. Now, actually, X10, that's a good point, used to run on 433 megahertz. Now, that's a very, very common frequency that's used for lots of automation systems, and it's still used now because it's one of the free bands that manufacturers can use because it's low power. So it's just something to be aware of. So X10, that's the RF version as well as the plug-in version. So the next ones that I started to use were things like these, these ones are Energini. Again, you plug it in, you plug your appliance in. This one, you had a manual on-off, so you could switch it on and off by that. But this came very similar to the X10. It came with a little radio remote control that you could turn it on and off. Again, in the 433 megahertz range, but not compatible with the X10 system. These were quite good because these are ideal for putting somewhere that's difficult to get to. Again, lamps and things like that hidden down the back of sofas, uplighters, things like that. You could hide that away down the back of the sofa, use the remote, click it on and off. Straightforward. But these ones didn't come with any computer controller or software to control them. They just had to be used on the remotes. And that's their downfall. They're not great for a big home automation system, which is what I've been trying to do. Automate all of the lights, switches, things like that. So those didn't last very long. There are ways of tapping into that 433 megahertz because they're not secure, they're not encrypted or anything like that. What you can do is you can actually get 433 receiver and transmitters for Arduino, Raspberry Pi, USB connectors for PCs, things like that. And what you can do is you can press the on button, sniff the transmission that this gives out and replay it so you can emulate the remote. They're done. They don't know any different. But that's a bit tricky. It's not really intuitive. And again, these are the early stages of home automation. And the newer ones make this much easier and open it up to everybody being able to do it, not just computer programmers. So I guess we now start to come on to the more modern stuff. And those of you will recognise this. This is the Hive. This is the programmable thermostat that comes from British Gas. And you can see I've got a few elements there to Hive TRV radiator valve and various lights. You can get lots of different fittings, bayonet, screw in, you can get small, large, to fit practically any light, and you can replace it with a Hive light. And actually our house is almost entirely lit with Hive lights, and I'll explain why in a little bit because they are really quite useful. But the main system, by the way, all of the links to these products I'll put down the bottom, and also to other videos, because I've done quite a lot of videos on how to install Hive, how efficient it is, how to use the thermostat valves, things like that. So there's a lot of information that I've provided. So if you follow the link down below, also please do subscribe. I can't remember which side it is. I think it's down that side. Please subscribe. Loads more videos, car videos, home automation, heating, all sorts of things coming up very, very shortly. So please do subscribe. So yeah, so Hive is quite a good system because, first of all, it's straightforward. it's very simple. You plug each of the components in. So you've got this, the thermostat, you've got the unit that goes with your boiler, and then you've got the internet connection point. It's like the bridge that joins it all together. Actually, just whilst I'm showing you this bit, I'll just point out there is also, and I just left it down here, a Hive signal booster. So a few people ask me about this, that if you've got a particularly large home and Hive struggles to get a signal, you can ask Hive for one of these and this will extend the signal for you. So that's quite a useful add-on. But Hive itself is straightforward and it allows you to add lots of different modules to it. So not just heating, it can act as the hub, the controller for a lot of home automation systems. Light bulbs, switches, motion sensors, window sensors. I know there's a camera as well, things like that. So Hive is quite good at being the central hub of your home automation network. So it's a good starting point to look at as one place to focus all of those devices into one system. Here you can see, sort of, the control panel that I've got on my phone for Hive, and it's got all of the thermostat, the hot water, you can see the radiator valve, and then we've got various lights around the house. And that's all controlled by the app. You can have the app on as many phones as you want. It's actually better to have it on all of your household's phones, and then Hive knows when you're home or not, and it can actually adjust your heating depending on whether you're all home or all out, things like that. But it lets you control the lights. If I go into one of the lights, you can see you can also vary the brightness of the light. So this is the study light. And you can see this is one of the Hive light bulbs that we've got. And this is where it gets interesting. You can schedule using this. So again, going back to the home automation, you can set this light to come on and off at specific brightnesses, specific times of the day, days of the week. You can have separate programs, all that kind of thing. So we're getting right into home automation with the ease that somebody else has integrated all of this for you. And that's what I mean by Hive being a good central point for your automation. And when I say Hive, there is also all of the other contenders as well. You've got Tado, you've got Google Home, you've got Amazon Echo hubs and things like that. They all work very similar to this. They all join all of these different elements together much better than we ever did in the past. And that's the key to what I'm talking about today, that you pick your central aggregator, whether that is Google Home, whether you're going to be an Amazon Echo Home, whether you're going to be a Hive Home, a Tado Home, and you then tailor it based on that. Now, in our case, I went with the Hive first, installed Hive, got the heating up and running, and then we got Amazon Echoes. We've now got 4 or 5 of them around the house. And the Amazon system, the Alexa, talks to Hive and Tado and the others. So that means that anywhere in the house, you can ask our Alexa to control the heating. And because we've also got lighting connected to that, you can ask Alexa to turn lights on and off as well. So you're now getting the ease of use. You're getting the fact that you can use your voice to control these things. And I'm going to show you something else that I've also used to integrate. And again, very straightforward, off the shelf. And that is smart plugs. So you can see these are GoSund smart plugs. I'm not sure who this one is. You can buy loads of these generic items off Amazon, eBay, things like that, and they're really cheap now. You can get these for about £20. I think this 2-pack was £20, and it's not much for this sort of home automation. You can see they've all got a similar design to them. You plug them into the wall, they've got a manual on-off switch, you plug the device in, and you can control it. And the way that you control these is through another phone app. And in this case, the phone app is called Smart Life. And if I load Smart Life on my phone, you can see all the different devices that talk to it on our home network. And again, this is a great integrator app. This also talks to the Amazon Alexa. It also talks to Hive. So it joins all of these things up. So any of these sockets, you create a name and you can ask your Alexa, or you can Hey Google and ask it to turn these sockets on and off. And this is where the modern home automation has really, really excelled itself. There's no more complications. This helps do all of this with one huge, huge flaw. And I'm going to show you that flaw because I've been trying to work around this flaw for quite some time and I still haven't cracked it. And the flaw is this. This is the problem. The old manual light switch that's attached to every one of your rooms. It's attached to every wall and it provides power to your main overhead light. So remember, we've replaced the bulb with one of our smart Hive lights, so we can control it through the app. However, if the wall switch is turned off, the Hive light has no power. It can't do anything. It's dead. It actually shows us offline in the app because it's effectively completely isolated from power. So you've got two options here. First of all, you leave the switch permanently on the wall and you only use the Hive app, Alexa or Google to switch the light on and off. Now that's not that convenient. When you're walking into a dark room, it's natural for you to feel around and switch the light switch on. It's not as natural to walk in, ask your Alexa to turn the light on, remember the name of the room you're in, because you have to say it in the right way for Alexa to work, and for the light to come on. And that's where the problems start, because wiring in most homes, these switches tend to only have two wires to them. One of them is a feed coming from the ceiling rows to the switch. That's the power. That's the mains coming in live. Then there's the switched live out. So when this switch is put in the on position, it sends that live back up to the ceiling rows to turn the light on. So this switch only has two wires. It doesn't have a neutral. It doesn't have a way of being powered. And therein lies one of the problems. Many manufacturers are now selling these, which are smart switches, which again, this smart switch talks to that Smart Life app on my phone. So this switch you can either press, and it's actually, there's no physical, it's just a touch screen button that would turn it on and off. And you can then use your phone to turn it on and off as well. But the problem is, this needs to be powered somehow. It needs power. And if you remember, our light switch doesn't have neutral. It has one half of the circuit. So this isn't getting powered by our regular wiring. Now, there are a few versions of these. There's some that say they don't need neutral. And without going into too much of the technicalities, what they do is they steal a little bit of power through the circuit back, because they're very low powered. They use next to nothing. But with a lot of bulbs and lights, that doesn't work right. LEDs don't work right with it. Actually, I found problems because I was testing one of those. That's what this is. I was testing one of these with a Hive light and it didn't work. It couldn't get enough power through the Hive light because the Hive light is also a very, very low powered device. So it wouldn't work. So that then takes you to the alternative version of these, which are ones that need constant power. So why don't I show you one that needs constant power? And that's this one here. So this is one that I've fitted in the room. You can see it's got the touchscreen power control to control the light in the room, and it works great. But what it means is I've had to alter the wiring that comes down to it, and the way that I've done that is by altering it up in the ceiling rows. So up in the ceiling rows you've got the two wires that I mentioned before. One is live, which is the main power, and one is the switched connection that comes back down and would receive power when the switch is on. So what I've done in this case is I've used those two wires to provide power, and that allows the switch to be powered on. But at that point it's just it doesn't actually switch anything. All it's doing is it's receiving power for itself to be powered on. It doesn't actually have any way of switching, and that's where this needs to then be a Hive light. So what happens is, when I switch the switch, and if you saw earlier, I'll press the switch and I'll show you that there is a flaw to this. Switch. Switch. There's a delay. When I press the switch, it's not instant, and that's because switching that switch sends a command to Smart Home, the app which is out in the internet. That smart app then sends a command to Hive saying, turn this specific light on. And when you think, that's very wasteful, and it doesn't always work. Occasionally the signal gets lost, and it's not ideal. And this is the problem that I'm facing. There isn't actually a solution to this. There isn't a good way to solve this problem easily. So to me, you have to either have Hive lights everywhere and leave all of your traditional light switches turned on, or use regular lights, use regular light bulbs, and use smart switches everywhere. But you can't make a combination of both, and that seems very lacking. So that's where I've kind of found problems with the whole automation system. So that's where one of the big drawbacks are, I would say, with making it work like this. And I think that's probably as far as I want to go on this video about home automation. I've gone through quite a few products that I use, and I've found work pretty well with that one major flaw covered. There are some great integrator apps. I'll probably do a Home Assistant video at some point where you can use a very cheap board, a Raspberry Pi board, to aggregate all of these services together. So where you've got a Hive app, you've got an Alexa app, you've got a smart home app, things like that, then Home Assistant can recognize, and one of the smart things about it is it detects them on your network, joins them all together and puts them into one place and one app, and it does that very well. It's completely free, so all you do is you buy the Raspberry Pi, which you can get for about £40–50, install the app, and it does all of that for you. So we may cover that in a future video, but I'll put links below in case you want to go off and research that on your own. But that's pretty much it for this video. So all of these products I'll link, and I do hope this has been useful to you. And if you're doing home automation yourself, put a comment down below. Tell me what's worked, what hasn't worked. Would love to get some more feedback on how it's worked out for you. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you in the next video.